I'm sitting on the edge of our California King, hotel curtains drawn shut, when I see it. A forwarded wire confirmation. $5.7 million from my account to one I don't recognize. My stomach drops as I read the text from Liam, just consolidating our future. Trust me. But I never gave him access to that account, and he's supposed to be in Denver giving a presentation, not wiring money from Miami. My vision blurs, not from tears but from rage. The mix of betrayal and anger makes my hands shake as I grip my phone tighter. 7 years of marriage, and this is what it comes to. Him stealing what I built from the ground up. I take 3 deep breaths, like my therapist taught me. In, out. In, out. In, out. The thing is, Liam doesn't know what I know. He doesn't realize I moved that money weeks ago. What he transferred was nothing but a cleverly crafted decoy, numbers on a screen with no substance behind them. I pick up my phone again, this time with steady hands, and text someone I never thought I'd need to contact. It's time. I met Liam Barnes at a wellness industry networking gala in Austin. He stood out immediately. Tall, confident, with a charming smile that made everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. 9 years older than me, he seemed so established, so sure of his place in the world. You're going to change the wellness industry. He told me that night, looking at my business plan. And I want to be there when you do. We built a life quickly. A fairy tale wedding in Tuscany, with flowers cascading from ancient stone walls, a modern glass house perched on the cliffs of Laguna Beach, and a business arrangement where I focused on growing my wellness empire while he handled the rest. You're the visionary, he'd say. Let me deal with the boring stuff. Over the years, he slowly wormed his way into my company's financial systems, always under the banner of helping me focus on the big picture. I was too busy cutting ribbons at new wellness centers to notice how he positioned himself at every financial checkpoint. What he didn't know was that I started noticing 6 months ago. 3 months before Liam's betrayal, I met with my attorney, Sandra Reyes, in her sleek downtown office. The wall-to-wall windows showed a city that felt suddenly unfamiliar to me. I think my husband is planning to steal from me, I said, the words burning my throat as they came out. Sandra didn't look shocked. That's what I liked about her. 20 years of family law had stripped away her capacity for surprise. Show me what you have, she said. I placed my evidence on her desk. Login attempts to my primary accounts, emails I wasn't supposed to see, conversations that ended abruptly when I walked into rooms. We brought in Marco, a cyber forensics specialist with kind eyes and merciless methods. Together we crafted a plan. We create a parallel system, Marco explained, a convincing front with nothing behind it. Over the next weeks, I quietly moved every cent of my fortune to new secure accounts. What remained in the original accounts was an elaborate shell, traceable, visible, but ultimately empty. It's like building a movie set, Sandra said. Looks real until you touch it. He's going to try something, Marco warned. And when he does, we'll be ready. When Liam left for his supposed Denver trip, I used the opportunity to access his tablet. He'd left it charging in his office, the sleek glass-walled room overlooking the ocean that he rarely let me enter anymore. His password had changed, but I knew his patterns. Third attempt, I was in. I found what I was looking for in a folder labeled Tax Prep 2022-2023. People hide their secrets in boring places. Inside was everything. Spreadsheets mapping my accounts, transfer strategies, offshore holding patterns, and a timeline of planned transfers. The most recent entry was yesterday. Execute primary transfer. My hands trembled as I scrolled further. There it was, a file simply marked Exit Strategy Bahamas. I opened it to find property listings, banking contacts, and a detailed plan for disappearing with my money. He'd been plotting this for over a year, methodically preparing while kissing me goodnight and planning our anniversaries. I took photos of everything, careful not to leave digital traces of my snooping. As I closed the tablet, I noticed something else, a business card tucked into its case. Melina Ross, financial strategist. The name meant nothing to me then, but it would soon. The smart security system had been Liam's idea. For your safety, he'd insisted after a break-in down the street. I'd thought it sweet at the time. Now I wondered what else he'd been monitoring. While he was gone, I accessed the system's cloud storage. 6 months of footage, neatly categorized. Most of it showed an empty house, me at work, him traveling, our cleaner coming twice a week. But then I found it. 3 weeks ago, while I was at a wellness retreat in Sedona, Liam had company. The footage showed him leading a woman through our home. Tall, confident, with sleek dark hair pulled into a severe bun. They weren't touching, but there was an intimacy in how they moved through the space. She wasn't a stranger to our home. They spread papers across our dining table, pointing, discussing, occasionally looking up as if checking for someone who might walk in. There was no audio, but I didn't need it. I forwarded to later footage. They were drinking my special reserve champagne on the terrace as the sun set over the ocean. I freeze-framed on her face as she smiled at something Liam said. There was something calculated in that smile, something predatory, and somehow familiar. It took me less than an hour to identify her. Melina Ross, former IRS consultant turned private financial strategist. Her LinkedIn profile showed an impressive career in forensic accounting and financial restructuring for high-net-worth clients. What her LinkedIn didn't show, but Sandra's contacts revealed, was that Melina had been disbarred 5 years ago for wire fraud. She'd narrowly avoided prison by turning evidence on her partners. Now, she operated in the shadows of the financial world, helping wealthy clients move money where it couldn't be easily followed. She's dangerous, Sandra warned. She knows every loophole in the system. I scrolled through her Instagram, all private jets and beachfront properties. One photo caught my eye. Melina at a financial conference in Miami last year. The same conference Liam had attended. That's when the final piece clicked into place. Melina wasn't just Liam's accomplice. She was the architect. The wire transfer to an unknown account hadn't to Liam's personal holdings. It had gone to her. Their plan was simple. She would help him steal my fortune. Then they would disappear together, probably to the Bahamas property I'd seen in his files. I closed my laptop, suddenly calm. They thought they were playing chess. They had no idea I'd changed the board entirely. The night before Liam was due home, I sat at his desk in his glass office. Waves crashed against the cliffs below as I wrote him a message on his personal stationery. Funny thing about decoys, they're designed to look real until you try to use them. I considered adding more, something about betrayal or broken vows, but simplicity has always been more powerful. He would understand soon enough. I folded the note precisely, slid it into an envelope, and sealed it with one of the wax stamps he loved to use on important correspondence. So pretentious, so Liam. I placed it squarely in the center of his desk, where he would see it immediately upon entering. He would be home in less than 24 hours, expecting to find me oblivious to his betrayal. He would check his offshore accounts, expecting to find my life's work waiting for him. He would call Melina, expecting to plan their next steps. Instead, he would find this note and the beginning of his undoing. I left his office and walked through our beautiful hollow home one last time. Tomorrow, everything would change. I didn't need to send the message now. The note would speak for itself. Liam came home, looking confident and relaxed. His smile faltered slightly when he didn't find me waiting. Instead, he found Sandra Reyes sitting in our living room, a leather portfolio on her lap. "Mr. Barnes," she said, rising to hand him a thick envelope. "These are divorce papers. My client has cited financial misconduct and breach of fiduciary duty." I watched from the kitchen doorway as confusion, then panic, then calculation passed across his face. "There must be some mistake," he said, trying to look past Sandra to where I stood. "Honey, what is this?" "There's no mistake, Mr. Barnes," Sandra continued. "The prenuptial agreement you signed contains a clause specifically addressing financial misconduct. California's community property laws won't help you here." Liam's face hardened as he skimmed the documents. "I want to speak to my wife, alone." "That won't be possible," Sandra replied. "All communication will go through me from now on." As they talked, I remained silent, watching the man I had loved, still loved, in some broken way. Realized that his carefully constructed plan was crumbling. "I want a meeting," he finally demanded. "With both of you, tomorrow." Sandra looked to me. I nodded once. "Fine," she said. "Our office. 10 a.m. I wore a cream-colored suit to the meeting, funeral colors for a dying marriage. The button camera nestled in my lapel was barely visible, recording every word. Liam arrived with his own lawyer, a shark in an expensive suit. They sat across from us, all feigned confusion and injured pride. "I don't understand these accusations," Liam began, his voice a masterpiece of wounded innocence. "I've only ever acted in our best interests." "Then explain the wire transfer," Sandra said, sliding a copy across the table. "That was—" he hesitated, looking to his lawyer, who nodded slightly. "That was just consolidation, for tax purposes. I was going to tell you when I got home." "Without my knowledge or consent?" I asked, my first words since he'd arrived. "I didn't want to bother you with financial details while you were focused on the Arizona expansion." His smile was strained. "You know you hate that stuff." For the next hour, he minimized, justified, and occasionally pleaded. He never once admitted wrongdoing, but he never directly denied the transfer either. "Let's be reasonable," he finally said. "We can work this out between us. We don't need lawyers." As he said it, I felt the weight of the camera against my chest. Every word, every lie, preserved forever. When he left, I handed the memory card to Sandra. "Add it to the file." The private investigator I hired was a former detective named Ray, with tired eyes and methodical habits. He reported back within days. "Your husband has a penthouse in Miami," he said, spreading photos across Sandra's desk. "Purchased 6 months ago through an LLC registered to Melina Ross." I examined the photos, a modern high-rise with ocean views, doormen in crisp uniforms, private elevator access. "There's more," Ray continued. "They co-signed the lease." He listed it as his primary residence on the application. "He's been planning to leave me for months," I said, more to myself than to them. "There's something else," Ray added, sliding another document forward. "Ross has been making regular trips to the Cayman Islands. The dates align with several significant withdrawals from accounts connected to your husband." The betrayal was deeper than I'd imagined. Not just my money, but a whole secret life constructed alongside our marriage. "I need to see it," I said suddenly. "The penthouse?" Sandra asked, concerned. "Miami," I replied. "I need to see where he was planning to live after destroying my life." I flew to Miami under a cloud of determination. My first stop was the bank branch where Ray had traced some of the transfers. I dressed the part, severe suit, hair pulled back, oversized designer sunglasses. "I'm Melina Ross's executive assistant," I told the young clerk, flashing a business card Marco had created. "Miss Ross asked me to confirm some details about the new trust Mr. Barnes established last week." The clerk's eager helpfulness was all I needed. "Oh, the Oceanic Trust? Let me pull that up for you." I nodded as if I knew exactly what she was talking about. "Miss Ross mentioned there might be additional documentation needed for the Cayman transfer," I prompted. "Right, for the business entity," the clerk said, typing. "Sapphire Holdings, correct?" I smiled tightly. "That's correct, and the transfer amount was—" $1.2 million initial deposit, she confirmed, turning her screen slightly. "Processed Tuesday." I thanked her and left quickly, calling Sandra from the street. "Sapphire Holdings," I said. "They've set up a new shell company. We need to freeze it immediately." "Already on it," Sandra replied. "The judge signed the order this morning. Any new assets are automatically included." For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of satisfaction. Liam was still making moves, completely unaware that every step took him deeper into our trap. Back in my hotel room, I assembled the package carefully. Copies of Melina's disbarment records, bank statements showing suspicious patterns, photos of her meetings with Liam, property records for the Miami penthouse, and finally, a detailed timeline of their financial maneuvers. I addressed it to an IRS investigator whose card Sandra had given me, someone who specialized in financial fraud and had been tracking Melina for years. "This crosses state lines," Sandra had explained. "It's federal territory now." I added a simple note. "Melina Ross has resumed operations. Evidence enclosed." The package went out by courier that afternoon, marked urgent and confidential. 1 week later, Ray called with news. "Melina Ross just booked a one-way flight to Grand Cayman. Left in a hurry this morning. Doorman says she had 3 suitcases and looked nervous." So she'd gotten wind of the investigation. That meant one of 2 things. Either she had contacts inside the IRS or Liam had warned her. Either way, she was running. And from the look of the bank records Sandra obtained that afternoon, she'd taken the Sapphire Holdings money with her. Liam had just been robbed by his own accomplice. I was at my wellness center reviewing plans for the Arizona location when Liam stormed in. His perfect composure had cracked, hair disheveled, eyes wild with panic and rage. "We need to talk," he hissed, grabbing my elbow. I extracted myself calmly, nodding to security. They moved closer but stayed back at my signal. "My office," I said quietly, leading him to the glass-walled room overlooking the yoga garden. Once inside, he exploded. "What did you do? Did you contact Melina?" I sat down, motioning for him to do the same. He remained standing, almost vibrating with fury. "I didn't need to contact Melina," I replied. "The IRS did that for me." The color drained from his face. "What are you talking about? She's gone, isn't she? And so is the money." I watched realization dawn on him. "The money you stole from me, which she then stole from you." "You don't understand," he stammered. "She manipulated me. She said she could help us protect our assets." "No, Liam, she helped you try to steal my assets." I leaned forward. "How does it feel to be betrayed by someone you trusted?" He collapsed into the chair across from me, the anger giving way to desperation. "She took everything." "No," I corrected him. "She took what you thought was mine. There's a difference." 3 days later, Liam appeared at our Laguna Beach house. I was packing the last of my personal belongings, preparing to move into a temporary apartment while the divorce proceeded. He looked terrible, unshaven, red-eyed, wearing the same clothes I'd seen him in at the wellness center. "Please," he said, his voice breaking. "I made a terrible mistake. Melina, she got in my head. Made me think you were going to leave me anyway." I continued packing books into a cardboard box, not looking at him. "I never meant to hurt you," he continued, tears spilling now. "It was just, you were so successful, and I felt like I was disappearing in your shadow. I wasn't thinking clearly." The performance was almost convincing. If I hadn't seen the meticulous planning in his files, I might have believed him. "I need help," he pleaded. "I'm falling apart without you. We can fix this. Go to counseling. Start over." I finally faced him. "Liam, do you remember the Andersons? How he took her inheritance? You called him a monster." He flinched. "This is different, is it?" I pressed. "Because it looks exactly the same from where I'm standing." Throughout his tearful monologue, the voice recorder in my pocket captured everything. One more admission to add to our growing file. As soon as he left, I sent the recording to Sandra. Her response was immediate. "Perfect. The judge will love this." The story broke faster than I expected. Sandra had carefully leaked court-approved excerpts of the financial investigation to a business journal doing a piece on fraud in high-net-worth marriages. The article didn't name names, but the details were specific enough that everyone in our circles knew. My phone exploded with messages, some supportive, others clearly fishing for gossip. The most satisfying call came from Ryan, the CEO of Liam's financial consulting firm. "I wanted you to hear it from me first," he said awkwardly. "We've had to let Liam go. The firm can't be associated with the allegations in that article." I thanked him for the courtesy of the call. After we hung up, I sat in my new apartment, smaller but somehow more mine than our beachfront mansion had ever been, and felt a strange mixture of vindication and sadness. Liam had lost his reputation, his job, and his partner in crime. It wasn't revenge I felt. It was closer to justice. That evening, I read through previous clients' testimonials about Liam. He helped secure our family's future. Trust is his middle name. Sleep better knowing Liam Barnes is watching your assets. The irony was almost too much to bear. The man who built a career on financial trust had destroyed everything for a chance at stealing from his own wife. The news alert popped up on my phone during a meeting with the Arizona contractors. Financial strategist arrested in Cayman Islands. I excused myself and stepped outside to read the full story. Melina Ross had been arrested while attempting to open new accounts under a false identity. Authorities had found multiple passports, each with different names but her photograph. More importantly, they had seized her laptop, with transaction logs detailing years of financial manipulation for wealthy clients. "Liam's name is all over it," Sandra told me when I called. "The feds want to talk to you. As a witness, not a suspect," she quickly added. The federal agents who interviewed me were surprisingly gentle. They explained that Melina had been running this scheme for years, helping wealthy spouses hide assets during divorces for a substantial cut. Your husband wasn't her first client, the female agent explained. But thanks to your documentation, he might be her last. The agent slid a document across the table. This is a list of property and accounts we've traced to Ms. Ross. Some of it may be yours. I scanned the list, noting a Cayman account with almost exactly $1.2 million, likely the Sapphire Holdings money. We'll need your help tracing what belongs to you, the agent continued. This could take months to untangle. I nodded, suddenly exhausted by it all. Whatever you need. The divorce proceedings moved forward despite Liam's desperate attempts to delay. He claimed he needed more time to assemble his defense. The judge wasn't sympathetic. Mr. Barnes, the evidence of financial misconduct is substantial and well documented, Judge Kaminsky said, peering over her glasses. I see no reason for further delays. I sat beside Sandra, watching Liam squirm at the defendant's table. His lawyer looked increasingly uncomfortable as the judge reviewed the evidence. The transfers, the hidden apartment, the connections to Melina Ross, now facing federal charges. Furthermore, the judge continued, the prenuptial agreement is crystal clear regarding financial misconduct. The clause specifically states that proven attempts to misappropriate funds results in forfeiture of community property rights. Liam's face went pale. This was the killing blow. The carefully worded clause Sandra had insisted on including in our prenup 7 years ago. Given the overwhelming evidence, I am ruling in favor of the plaintiff, Judge Kaminsky declared. Mrs. Barnes shall retain 100% of her separate property and business interests. Mr. Barnes forfeits any claim to community property due to documented misconduct. She wasn't finished. Additionally, I am referring Mr. Barnes to the State Bar Association for ethics violations related to his financial practice. As we left the courtroom, Sandra squeezed my hand. It's over, she whispered. But somehow it didn't feel over at all. The Laguna Beach house keys felt heavy in my hand as I walked through the empty rooms one last time. The furniture remained, but all personal items were gone. My things to my new place, Liam's to wherever he was staying now. The house had always been more his dream than mine. All glass and sharp angles, impressive but cold. Like our marriage, I realized now. Standing in the master bedroom, I remembered our first night there. How excited we'd been, how full of plans for the future. Had he been calculating even then? Had any of it been real? The realtor called, interrupting my thoughts. The buyers have increased their offer. They're eager to close quickly. Tell them it's accepted, I replied. The price was fair, more than fair, given the current market. I took one last look at the view. Endless blue ocean meeting endless blue sky. So beautiful, and yet I felt nothing but relief at leaving it behind. I locked the door and left the keys in the lockbox for the realtor. As I drove away, I didn't look back. The house had never been a home. It had been a beautiful stage set for a life that wasn't real. Like the decoy accounts I'd created, impressive on the surface, empty underneath. I was ready for something smaller, warmer, and genuinely mine. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I sat in a small conference room with 5 women, the board of my new foundation. The Reclamation Project, we called it, helping women rebuild after financial abuse. The House proceeds give us an endowment of just over $4 million, I explained, displaying the figures. With careful management, we can fund 10 scholarships annually plus emergency grants. The women nodded, serious and engaged. Each had been carefully selected. Lawyers, financial advisors, therapists, all experts in helping women recover from situations like mine. Our first scholarship recipient is here, I said, standing to open the door. Zara entered nervously, 26, brilliant, with a business plan for a mobile app that helped women track financial red flags in relationships. The foundation is awarding you $50,000 to develop your app, I told her, plus mentorship from our board. After the meeting, Zara lingered. There's something I should tell you, she said hesitantly. I knew Melina Ross. She was dating my mother's financial advisor. I overheard things, saw things I shouldn't have. That's partly why I created the app concept. My heart raced. What kinds of things? She had a system, Zara explained, for testing wire transfers before making big moves, small amounts to temporary accounts. If they worked, she'd go for the big money. I pulled out my phone and called Sandra immediately. We might have missed something important. The offshore accounts Zara helped us identify were exactly as she described, test runs for larger schemes. Working with federal investigators, we tracked wire transfers Liam had initiated weeks before the big attempted theft. There's a pattern, the FBI financial crimes specialist explained, pointing to his screen. Small transfers between $10,000 and $50,000 moved through these holding companies. I recognized one company name immediately. It had appeared in our joint tax documents the previous year. Liam had explained it as an investment vehicle for diversification. He moved just over $1 million through these test channels, the agent continued. We've frozen what we could find, but some of it is likely gone. I sat back, processing this. Even as the divorce was proceeding, even as he was begging for reconciliation, Liam had been squirreling away money. This helps establish a pattern of ongoing fraud, Sandra noted. It strengthens the federal case. I nodded, numb. Just when I thought I'd discovered the full extent of his betrayal, new layers emerged. We'll add this to the federal subpoena, the agent assured me. Every account we find will be frozen and investigated. As I left the federal building, I felt strangely calm. The more we uncovered, the less power Liam's betrayal held over me. The federal subpoena hit Liam like a tsunami. Agents seized his devices, froze his accounts, and combed through years of financial records. The test transfers Zara had helped identify were just the beginning. Sandra forwarded me the legal notice. Liam was being investigated for wire fraud, tax evasion, and financial conspiracy. His remaining assets, what little Melina hadn't taken, were frozen pending investigation. He's finished professionally, Sandra said. No financial firm will touch him after this. I should have felt triumph. Instead, I felt a strange hollowness. The man I had built a life with was being systematically dismantled, and rightfully so. Yet I took no joy in it. That night, my doorbell rang unexpectedly. I checked the security camera to see Liam standing there, shoulders slumped, looking older than his years. I hesitated, then pressed the intercom. What do you want, Liam? 5 minutes, his voice crackled through the speaker. Please. Against my better judgment, against Sandra's explicit advice never to speak to him alone, I opened the door. You should know federal agents are monitoring my visitors, I said as he stepped inside. They'll know you were here. He nodded tiredly. I know, I don't care anymore. Liam stood awkwardly in my living room, refusing the chair I offered. He looked terrible, unshaven, hair graying at the temples, wearing a wrinkled suit that hung loosely on his frame. I have nothing left, he whispered. They've taken everything, frozen every account. I'm staying on a friend's couch. I kept my distance, arms crossed. What did you expect would happen? Not this, he admitted. I never thought it would go this far. I just wanted. He trailed off. What? What did you want that justified stealing from me? He looked away. I wanted what you had. The success. The recognition. His voice broke. You were this unstoppable force, and I was just the husband. I thought if I had money of my own, real money, I'd matter again. The raw honesty surprised me. For once he wasn't trying to charm or manipulate. He was simply broken. You win, he said finally. It's over. It was never a game, I replied. It was our life, and you stole it. He nodded, reaching into his coat. I tensed, but he pulled out only a folded check. What's this? I asked as he handed it to me. Everything I have left, he said simply. It should go to someone who'll do something good with it. The check was for $927,000, drawn from an account I didn't recognize. For a moment, I wondered if this was another trick. It's legitimate, Liam said, reading my expression. My parents' inheritance. The only account the feds haven't frozen because it wasn't connected to any of the fraud. I stared at the check, then at him. Why would you give me this? Because I owe you more than I can ever repay. He looked around my modest apartment. You built an empire from nothing. I tried to steal it because I was jealous and small. I didn't know what to say. This wasn't the Liam I knew, the charming manipulator, the confident schemer. This was someone broken by his own actions. I don't want your parents' money, I said, trying to hand the check back. He stepped away. Don't think of it as mine. Think of it as reparation. Use it for your foundation. A ghost of his old smile flickered across his face. I did my research. I know what you're building. He turned to leave, pausing at the door. I am sorry. Not because I got caught. Because I hurt the one person who actually believed in me. After he left, I sat holding the check for a long time. Finally, I made a decision. I didn't tear it up. I didn't keep it for myself. I deposited it directly into the foundation's account. His money would help women recover from men like him. There was a certain justice in that. I moved into a sleek loft near the foundation's office as autumn arrived. The space was smaller than the Laguna Beach house, but filled with warm colors and comfortable furniture. A place designed for living, not impressing. No traces of Liam remained in my life. I'd changed my name back, rebranded my wellness empire, and built walls between my past and future. The foundation thrived beyond my expectations. When women heard my story, which had indeed gone viral after court records became public, they reached out in droves. Some needed help. Others offered it. We created a network of financial, legal, and emotional support for women rebuilding after betrayal. Zara's app launched to critical acclaim, helping thousands identify financial red flags early. She'd become something of a protégé, working closely with our team to expand the foundation's technical resources. I received a text from a major women's magazine. "Your story has inspired so many. Would you consider an exclusive interview?" Similar requests had been coming for months. Podcasts, news segments, book deals. I'd declined them all. My story wasn't meant for entertainment. It was a blueprint for survival. Instead of replying, I put down my phone and looked out at the city lights. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. Not because of what I'd done to Liam, but because of what I'd built from the ashes he left behind. 1 year to the day after discovering Liam's betrayal, I walked along the riverfront where we'd once planned to build a wellness spa together. The property was still available. Prime real estate with beautiful views and healing energy. This time, I wasn't dreaming about it. I was buying it. The plans under my arm weren't Liam's grandiose designs. They were practical, sustainable blueprints for a center that would house both a commercial spa and treatment spaces for the foundation's clients. Women rebuilding their lives would train there, gaining skills and confidence alongside paying customers. Zara and 3 other scholarship recipients would be my partners, each bringing unique talents to the venture. Together, we would create something Liam could never have imagined, a business built on genuine collaboration rather than exploitation. As I stood looking out over the water, I realized how completely my life had transformed. The pain hadn't disappeared, but it had changed into something productive, even powerful. Liam had tried to take my fortune, believing that money was the source of my strength. What he'd never understood was that the real fortune wasn't in my bank accounts. It was in my resilience, my vision, and now, in the community I'd built. He thought he was stealing my fortune. What he really did was hand me my freedom.